Welcome to Disruptive Conversations. And today's show is going to be looking at the importance of getting top-level medical information out to everyone so that people can have equal access. Thank you so much for joining so far. And if you've been wondering about how do people find out about what the best kind of medical treatment is, what information you need to have, how this plays out. How do people find out about this? How do people know about it? What do you have to do to really be able to be the person who knows what the latest information is, what the latest research is like? If there are illnesses for which there are new protocols that are being tried, new trials, and whether or not you or someone that you love and care about and is in need of treatment is eligible for such things. It's really a big issue, and unless you know how to do it, it can be a very daunting process. And even for people who are really well versed, to have an area of one place to go to be able to get information can be enormously helpful. And so for those of you who are coming to Disruptive Conversations for the first time, I'm welcoming you. And if you haven't followed me, please do. Please do, because I'm dropping important information all the time, and that it would be something that you can use and avail yourself of. If there's someone you know who would be helped by the information that we're going to be looking at today, give them a shout out, tell them to come on board and to come and join us. And this is information that can be made available to everyone. So the purpose of Disruptive Conversations, and we'll talk about that more. Okay, so Sharon has joined, which is great. And now Sharon, let's see about getting her on. Let's see, let me see if this is the way. Okay, Sharon has joined, and let's see if there's another way of doing this. I could add her as a moderator. Let's see if that will work. Let's see if that will do it. Let's see if she's going to buffer now. Oh, send a request to join. Okay. So we're almost there. This is the Instagram Live, and I've got to say that for the time that I've been doing this, there's always something, there's always more to learn, there's always different kinds of, here we go, view request, go live. And then Sharon's coming on without further ado. Okay, so I think we're happening here. And I'm waiting for Sharon to come on. Okay, it looks like it should be happening. It looks like this looks like this should be happening. Sharon, I'm rooting for you here. We had gotten her request, and first it looked like she was here, and now we're going to see how this goes. It's always a moment. I see two people. Thank you, Annabelle, for coming on. Thank you for Make Mercy one time. Thank you, Shakti. Carly, thank you for being on. And okay, and we're going to give this request another try. All right, Sharon's trying to get on. All right, so far unable to join. Make Mercy one time. View request. Let's see. Okay. All right. So the request is going to be coming again. Okay. There's someone who's uh, requesting. Uh, okay, here we go. Sharon, okay, I'm accepting you. Here we go. Let's see if this one's going to work. And it did. And it did.
So much for being in the technology business. I can't get on a lot.
But welcome. So Sharon, I'm going to introduce the show and introduce you, and then we're going to be ready to roll. Excellent. So everyone, welcome to Disruptive Conversations with thought leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, educators, authors, in which we deep dive into the experiences these women have needed to navigate and conquer in order to achieve their personal and professional success up to this point. I'm Dr. Risa Reiger, clinical psychologist, and I'm an expert in change. I help people make positive change at any point. To make positive change, you need to disrupt. You need to disrupt a thought, a feeling, a belief, a behavior, an understanding in order to create your 10.0 life. And that's what this series of conversations is all about. And today, I am thrilled and enormously grateful to Sharon Cammisa, who is the Chief Commercial Officer at Mediflex. Now, Sharon has been in the medical education and the healthcare marketing field for over 25 years. And one of the things that she brings, and we're going to talk about this more, is that she brings her integrity, her innovation, her commitment, and her business brilliance into what she does. And so without further ado, I'm giving you a little bit of information, and we're going to talk more about Mediflex and Sharon's vision. But first, Sharon, I want to welcome you, and thanks so much for taking this leap with me.
Thanks, Teresa. Happy to be here.
Fantastic. So Sharon, what haven't I talked about in your bio that you'd like to share with us?
Oh, it's a good question. I think, excuse me, I think that the most important thing in my bio is that I've been able throughout my career to take risk and to try to take lateral moves, but also looking at ways to move lateral and forward at the same time. Really trying to round out. So I sort of took this position in healthcare that I really wanted to be patient-centric. And I looked at all the different ways that patients would touch healthcare. So everything from data analytics to media to PR to advertising to medical education. And and at the time, it didn't seem like it all was so cohesive. But now as I find myself at the most senior part of my career, it's all coming together, and it's coming together in a very interesting way.
So Sharon, this is the question of the moment. What is it that you needed to disrupt in yourself in order to be able to take the steps and get to where you are?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think part of the things that I need to do is to trust myself, right? And really have the confidence to know that whatever job I was applying for, I almost didn't care about the job description. It was really about what the company and what the account or the initiative was about. And I knew that when I got in there, I could put my own brand on it. And I've always felt very confident about that. I've taken jobs that have changed completely. My first big departure from the real world was jumping from a really good job that I got a steady paycheck to a startup company. And I didn't know where it was going to go. And I was going to be an account person. And I ended up being a partner because I really, again, found my way, really helped to shape where the company was going and used my voice to do that.
That's really incredible. And, we hear a lot about self-trust. And could you fill us in some more, because it's such a broad area of what is self-trust? What does that mean to you?
Well, it means a lot of things, but I think that no matter what you're feeling, someone once told me early in my career, two different things: never let them see you sweat and never apologize. And not in a bad way. Take accountability, but really understand that everything you're doing, if you're doing it with the right intentions and you're doing it with good intentions and to forward the business, you have to have the ability and be enabled to take those risks, because that's where you learn. The point of discomfort is where you really learn. So that was where, over time, it wasn't always easy, but over time, you start to get some successes and you build on them and you build on them, and hopefully surround yourself with people who help you and say that what you did was really good, but here's how it could have been better. Or here's how you want to think about it next time.
Yeah. So it sounds like trust is something that built
Right.
for you. Self-trust.
Self-trust. Correct.
And that when you go to these places of stretching and go to these places that we've heard about, I mean, internally of discomfort, what do you dig into in yourself to help kind of get you through the uncertainty?
Yeah, well, a couple different places. One was, I'm one of 3 children. I'm the youngest. I have 2 older brothers who really beat me up all the time. So I got to learn to take care of myself very early.
Uh-huh.
I played a lot of team sports, and I really draw back on that, about this idea of being part of something bigger than yourself, and really being part of something that you don't have to have all the answers, and you don't have to do everything yourself. You have to find people who you can align with. You don't have to agree with everything, but people you can trust and people that you can collaborate with. And I think that's really where it came from, is understanding you don't always have to be the smartest person in the room. In fact, you can learn from that. So listening is as important as talking in a lot of cases.
And you can be the smartest person in the room about some things, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you're the smartest person in the room about everything.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. I work with incredible people every day, and I learn something from all of them every day. And I think I teach them something as well.
I mean, it sounds like you're really coming into this with a mindset of learning and being open to learning and curious, intellectual curiosity.
Definitely curious. I'm curious in every aspect of my life. I feel like I've learned things from my brothers. I learned things from my parents. I learned from my children. I just got back from South Africa. I learned an awful lot about nature and safari and about how things work. And I really try to look at everything. I try to bring that back, those lessons that I see every day. And you have to be curious, right? But I try to do that every day.
That's an important, so the takeaway here, just an aside for the community, is to really, if curiosity isn't necessarily part of where you go, intuitively, that doesn't mean that you can't.
Right.
So start by, one way to start, and Sharon, chime in on this, I would love that. One way to start is that set an intention, set a commitment for yourself every day to very actively be curious about something.
Right.
And ask yourself, I wonder what this is about.
Yeah. I think it's a really important point, but I think the other aspect of it is to really force yourself to try to get to know where people are coming from and what their perspective is. I make this mistake all the time, and it's funny because I do it continuously, but very often things will be presented to me and I think I know where someone's coming from. And I only learn later on that they're actually coming from a very different point of view than I initially thought. So I really try to remind myself and stop myself to say, where are they coming from? What do they need? Because it's not really about what I need to tell them. It's about what they need to know. And that's hard. It's hard to remember to do that. We're busy. We're doing 1,000 things every day. We're trying to keep all the balls in the air. But that's one thing that's something I work on with myself and I try to do more of.
So that's a commitment that you make to yourself.
Yes, it is every day. I mean, I make a commitment. I don't always do a good job of it, but I try to make a commitment to do it. Just last night, I went to the celebration for Marines, the 248th celebration to Marines. I'm working with some Marines. And I was just blown away by what I learned there and that I feel like I'm going to bring back into my life. I learned about leadership. I learned about how Marines are taught, that they're taught that when you have, what's more important, the mission or the Marine? And it seems like a simple answer. You know what the answer is? The answer is the Marine. If you take care of the Marine will take care of the mission. So now I'm thinking about ways with my teams internally to say, instead of telling people what to do or how to think, letting them, taking care of them, giving them, empowering them, to give them the feeling that they can make that decision themselves, and making it clear about where we're heading. So every day, I mean, you can take something from everything every day.
Absolutely. And also, do you find this as well, that you never know where some, moment of wisdom or moment of, I didn't know that before, is going to come from?
Absolutely. And it's the strangest things, I've been in healthcare for, over 25 years, but my biggest education comes from like caretaking with my parents. I mean, it really does. And my children, and what I need and what I'm looking for and the questions I'm trying to answer. And I bring that in every day because that's what we're trying to do with Mediflex. We're trying to give every person in the world the opportunity to get the correct answers to stay on the right track. And what does correct mean? Correct means somebody who's experienced, somebody who's been proven that, has a proven track record, and is evidence-based. At the end of the day, they go back to a learning, a place that's supported with facts. But we don't, as a society, know where to get those answers anymore. So I take that every day and I say, how can we take that burden off of people? How can I know that if I come into this one place, I can trust it? Because I can't trust anything else. So that's a lot about how I think about bringing in opinions, bringing in what my mother's thinking, bringing in what my son is thinking, so that we can answer that and be there.
How did you, out of all the things you have background in marketing and medical education, how did you decide to go into this field?
I wish I could say it was more directed. It was really, it really happened by chance. I got out of college. I got out with a degree many years ago, like many women. I went to Emory. I had a bachelor's of science in history. I thought I'd go to law school. And then I realized while I was taking the LSATs that it wasn't for me. And I went to New York City and I couldn't get a job because I couldn't type. It made me crazy. I couldn't type. So I found somebody, a headhunter, who basically said, you tell them you can type 40 words a minute with no mistakes, and I'll tell them you were just really nervous when you took your test, because I just couldn't do it. Which is so strange now, because we type all day long, all day. But I got a job at BBDO doing something really, really boring, media research. And I learned about how to approach a job then. And I asked a lot of questions. And what I learned was I really wasn't interested in media research. So I raised my hand to get another job, and I fell into a job in medical advertising with no idea what it was, and found I had a really strong passion for it, and I was pretty good at it. And then I just moved up the ranks. It was a great company. So I wish I could say I planned all this. I did not.
But that's exactly the point, Sharon. The point is that you didn't.
Right.
And that you let yourself be open. And that also, and I love the headhunter that you were working with, who didn't say, oh, well, if you can't type, forget it, don't apply, right? Because that's what happens with women oftentimes. If they don't check all the boxes, that, oh, that's not me. And then you step away from it. And that headhunter knew how to get kind of through that.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still close with that group. I had the most incredible group. It was at BBDO, and it was the most incredible group. There were only 5 of us. And to this day, they're my mentors. They're my people. And even though I couldn't stand working in that area, they taught me about working. And I try, it's funny, I try to really impress that upon my kids at this point. Like, you don't have to have the answers at 20, 24, 26. What you need to do is you need to be open and trust yourself, and let the ebb and flow take you a little bit.
Yes. And that it's not that you know nothing. You don't have to know, you don't know nothing, but you also don't know everything. And there's a big journey, and there's so much available now that we couldn't have even, when you think about, well, what could I do? That you may not have even known that these sorts of things existed. And so it sounds like in this process that you've gone through, that you allowed yourself to be open to new experiences.
Absolutely. And I chose jobs that made me feel good and had a big upside. And they didn't all work, but I learned something from each one. I did a startup before this one, and it failed in what society would call fail, but it put me in position to get where I am now. And I never would have been there if I didn't have, and I met every investor in New York. That really informed my job for now. So, I don't regret. I try not to. As I get older, it's a little harder not to look back and regret some things. But I try to look at everything as just a building block. And I think that, it's helpful. It takes a little pressure off making decisions.
That and also, that's also the truth of the matter, that sometimes even if you don't know directly how something that you've learned is kind of helping you or affecting you right here and now, that there's something about having the information that becomes part of your thinking of whether it's something to think about more or to make sure that you don't do.
Right.
And that's really an important part of learning as well.
Right, which is again why trust is so important. But trust then is followed with, fake it till you make it, because you can't just expect people to trust themselves. You have to really put yourself in a position. It's not about arrogance or anything else. It's just about understanding that you put yourself in a position, you're working really hard, you're trying to figure it out, you're asking questions, and you're taking in criticism and constructive criticism so that you can grow.
So I'm going to make a bit of an edit on fake it till you make it, and I'm ready with an alternative. First I'll tell you what the alternative, and then I'll tell you why.
Sure.
So the alternative would be hone it till you own it. And that part of the reason why, and it's really interesting that we have a fake it till you make it, that there's that kind of slant on learning versus that you're at the beginnings and you can't know. You can't have done something 30 times if this is the first time that you're doing it. So you're not faking it, but you're in this learning curve. And then there are so many people who feel like they're imposter, this whole thing of imposter syndrome, which people experience. But really what's happening, and so I want to thank you so much for saying that.
No, I love that. I think I'm going to adopt that. Next time we do this, I'm going to say, hone it till you own it.
Hone it till you own it. Yes, absolutely. Because what you're doing is real and true. It's not a lie and it's not a fake. What you're doing at the moment isn't a fake. It is what you're doing, and that in reality and truth is real.
Yeah, I'd like you to, speaking of reframing, I'd like you to reframe the imposter syndrome, because I was part of a big group of women, very, very, high level women. And a lot of women, they say, suffer from imposter syndrome. And I really believe everybody does. It's not just women. It's everybody does. And I don't really think I do. I mean, I understand I have limitations, but I don't like to call it what's an imposter? I don't understand that.
This is a conversation, and that this whole area is like, the emoji where the top of your head explodes. That's something, this whole idea, and not providing alternatives, like hone it till you own it, like not having a different kind of, not just reframing. I mean, reframing, it's like you take a picture and you put a different, same picture, different frame, but that this is really what learning and growth looks like. It's not about faking it. It's like, this is what I know up to this point in time. So, so I want to go back, because it sounds like you've had some really important mentors. And so what is it that you think you did? Because a lot of people don't have mentors and they don't know how to go about getting a mentor. So what do you think helped you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good question. I'm not sure. My oldest mentor, my oldest relationship, is my first real job. And it's funny, I talked to her yesterday. And, a mentor doesn't always tell you what you want to hear. Mentor isn't always nice. Mentor is not always available. But a mentor is somebody who you can consistently come to, I think, and believes in you, but will tell you honestly what's going on. So I have a number of different people that I feel that I can talk to. I don't always like what they say. I don't always agree with what they say. But they're always willing, when they can, to give me the time to help me think something through.
And it's so important that you don't want to be, if you're looking for a mentor, right, it's not being in an echo chamber.
Correct.
It's not, you're not going to hear yourself echoed back with some sort of, a compliment of, and that's so wonderful. I mean, sometimes you're going to hear that, and that's a great thing, but that's not what mentorship is about. Mentorship is about helping you grow and stretch and go into the areas that are uncomfortable, where you're honing it till you own it. And if you can get some help along that journey, it sounds like that's a really great place to be.
Yeah, I think the other epiphany is that people do want to help.
Yes.
Like people do want to mentor. I think you get this idea that, that person, oh, they're untouchable. I don't want to, bother them. People love when you ask them for your opinion. They really do. I mean, people want to help. When you ask them for advice, when you ask them for, their insights or their feedback on what you're thinking, they like that. They don't like you to ask them for something like, can you tell me what to do? Or can you do something for me? But people love when you ask them their opinion. And I find that if you give people and recognize them for their expertise and you ask them to help you think something through, most people want to help you.
And one of the things I really like about what you're saying is that you're not using the language of, can I pick your brain?
Right.
But it sounds like a vulture is coming,
right.
in. But you're not asking to pick someone's brain.
No.
You're asking for their advice, for their thoughts, for their help, for their thinking about something. Because we think the way that we think. And to get something different come in and give us more options, it just is so broadening and really can help us succeed beyond where we can think ourselves.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. And I think also that you have to be specific about where you want help. It's not just like, what do I need to do next? I mean, you have to be specific. People need context. Context is important. And I think if you're going to get the help and you're going to get the relationship that you really want, you have to put into it. You have to give them what the tools and the information they need so they can give you back something valuable.
Yes. So Sharon, what is your next disruption?
Oh, my next disruption is trying to get this platform out there. So one of the things that I'm really working on is I work on the experience of the product we're trying to create. And the product we're trying to create is something that would be accessible to everybody and anyone, and essentially will allow you, when you want to go to see a specialist right now, you may have a wait of 3, 6, 9 months, even a year at times. But what if you could do that, like have a relationship like you and I are talking anytime you want? Now, we're not going to allow you to talk to these guys because of the top 200 specialists in the world, but we're going to, through video, the magic of video and AI, we're going to allow people to have a virtual relationship and conversation with people and do it to someone you can relate to. Like you, I like you, I relate to you, but someone else might feel differently and want to get your insights, and they should look like them when they can, and they should feel like them, and they should come from a similar perspective. So we're trying to really do that, making sure that we create something that's accessible, it's diverse, it does something, it makes a difference, it impacts the healthcare system.
So it sounds like impact. That's what I heard from you at the beginning, at the very beginning of our conversation, because this is what it is. It's a conversation. Is that what I heard from you at the very beginning was the importance that having impact has for you.
Yeah, at this point. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I go to work every day. I have other things I could do, but I'm going to go and I'm going to show up. And I'm going to try to do, I really feel again like this culmination of all my experience has brought me to this point to do something. And the people I work with feel similarly. So I work with a gentleman, Steve Lieber, who has been part of every kind of musical icon that you've ever heard of, from Rolling Stones, AC/DC, to Beatlemania, to Moscow Circus. I mean, everything that we grew up with, that we know about and still hear, he's been part of. Wow. But what he hasn't been able to do is, just like all of us, no amount of access or money or anything can give you your health. And when his wife was diagnosed 10 years ago with multiple myeloma, he did go to what was considered the best hospital with the best doctor, but she still passed away. And he feels that he's put on this earth to leave all his music business behind and to make democratize medical education and make it available to everybody. And he assembled people who are like-minded. And everybody has a health story. Everybody has a need. And I feel like that's a higher calling at this point. This is where we are. If we can do that, if we can help just one person not get an amputation and learn that there was a medical treatment, or avoid something, or prevent diabetes, or prevent obesity, that's a great place to be right now.
Well, that one person who you help, you never know what that ripple effect is going to be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it's their families, and it's the people who care about them, and it's the people who they entertain with. You don't know even what they're going to do. That person who lived a little bit longer, what will they do with what they play to play it forward?
It's just such a hard place to be when you want to find out and you want to know something and you're committed to doing that and you can't figure out how to do it.
Right.
You can't figure out how to know and where you need to be. How do you get the information? What does that look like? Are you in the right place? How do you vet it?
Right, exactly. And then, and there's things you need to know and there are things you want to know. And you have to learn what the difference is. Because sometimes we're off on a track and we really want to know a lot about something. But if we just knew what we needed to know, then we would really start to advance. And that's what our specialists bring to us. Our specialists have years of experience helping people understand what they need to know. And I think I always like to say, like on the platform, what we're trying to do is, even when you're not on our platform, we're thinking about you and we're thinking about your condition so that we'll alert you when you need to know something so you can relax and live your life. And that, I think, is really important.
That's so crucial. I'm just learning this from what you're doing now. That there's an alert out so that you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I have to always be scrolling and looking and investigating. Right. And that if you're ill or you're with someone, you're a caregiver or you're an advice giver, a medical advocate, a friend who knows someone, that there is going to be an alert so that you can have a sense that you're doing what you need to do at this moment.
Right.
Versus being on pins and needles all the time and not being able to be in your life and enjoy the moments that you are in at the moment.
Right. I mean, isn't that really what we're all about? Like, it's really about understanding. I mean, you do it every day. You're so good at it, but it's like helping people get through those roadblocks. Like if I'm a person with diabetes, that doesn't define me. That's why it's very clear. We don't call people diabetics anymore. We call them people with diabetes because they're people first. And if they can manage their diabetes in such a way that it becomes just a part of who they are, not what defines them, we can allow them to do all the other things they need to do. Show up for family, show up for work, show up for friends. And that's been my big learning and being in this, is that there's too much information. So how are we helping people navigate through it so that they can really use it?
Right. So that even, you don't even need to know what the mitochondria are doing.
Do not need to know what they're doing.
Yes.
But you need to know the signs of when something's happening where you need help. A big part of what we're doing as well is the mental health aspect of it, right? Like that's where people like you become so important, because it's understanding and it's accepting, but it's also understanding how to channel that energy into something really proactive. And people, it's hard to do that alone. People need, they need the support of someone who can help them think that way.
Oh my gosh, because when you're in a tough spot, that is the hardest time to be alone.
Right.
And there are people who don't have people thinking about them or watching out for them. And having a go-to place, it's just, oh my gosh, it's it's an incredible thing to have some place to go.
Yeah. I mean, it's incredible, but it's also an awesome responsibility, right? So we're trying to rely on these specials we have. We've also brought together major institutions like Cleveland Clinic and AHA and Alzheimer's Association, ACS. We all want to do the same thing, right? If you speak to any specialist that works with us, they'll say, in my lifetime, I might be able to touch 10,000 people if I'm really working hard. I want to touch millions. I want millions of people to learn from my experience. And I'm sure, based on you doing these types of things, you feel the same way, right?
Yes.
What you can give to people, what you can help people understand needs to be exponentially shared.
Sharon, I don't think that we could wrap up on a better note than that, of the importance, the commitment, and the responsibility of sharing information, and your commitment and the commitment of Mediflex to get information out so that people can experience, you can't help, sometimes you can't help, getting sick.
Right.
But when you feel like there's something that you can do to be informed, to know what to do, to know what to look for, that is in and of itself a huge help.
Right.
just a huge space of empowerment and that internal uptick that can just help you, power through some of the rougher times.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. I couldn't agree more. And also, you're not alone. You're not alone. There's
Not
nothing you're
alone. Not
experiencing.
alone.
There's nothing you're experiencing that everybody, other people have not
Yeah.
experienced.
You're not alone. Alone can be a very, very difficult space. That's a conversation for another time.
Right.
So I want to thank you
you
on so many levels. I want to thank you for your trust in yourself, your trust in me, and your courage for plowing through this tech and the important. I want to thank you so much for the incredible and really important information that you're getting out to people in all these different ways. And so to be continued. This isn't a one and done. I'd love to hear what's going on. And Sharon, we're going to be taking our glam shot so that I have a cover shot to put on. By the way, for anyone who's listening, if you know someone who needs to hear this and they haven't been able to come on live, please know that we're posting it. And so they will have access to it. So to know that. Okay, so Sharon, are you ready?
I'm as ready
Okay, we're going to
as I'm going to be.
okay. And one more. Everyone, Sharon Cammisa, who's come on and helped educate us and let us know what's happening on the cutting edge of the democratization of healthcare. And come back, see you next time on Disruptive Conversations. And remember that positive change can happen at any point. You're never too late. See you then. Thank you.